Did you know Sweden's best-selling car isn't even a car? People are not driving these cars off the dealership. Instead, they're opening bags and eating them. Yep, it's candy. Tiny pastel-colored foam candies called Ahlgrens Bilar, and on TikTok, they've quietly become a global obsession. But here's the thing. Behind those cute little car shapes are some stories you probably don't know. We're talking rumors about Bugattis, dyes made from crushed insects, and even a recent case of greenwashing. And yet, fans still eat millions of these little treats every year. That's more cars than Ford, Toyota, and Tesla combined have ever produced. But how did we get here? How did a botched marshmallow experiment in the 1950s turn into Sweden's most purchased car? What really goes into making them? And why are people on TikTok lining up just to film themselves chewing on a handful of foam candy? Stick around, because the story of Ahlgrens Bilar is one part nostalgia, one part mystery, and one part, wait, I can't believe I just ate that. Let's take a ride inside the candy store and see why these little cars aren't as innocent as they look. The story of Ahlgrens Bilar doesn't begin with candy cars at all. It starts with failure. Back in 1953, at the Ahlgrens candy factory in the Swedish city of Gävle, workers were experimenting with marshmallows. American-style marshmallows were all the rage, and Ahlgrens wanted their own version. But the mixture they came up with was too dense, too chewy. It wasn't the fluffy pillows they were going for. Ahlgren and his team had every intention of scrapping their squishy idea. But then, someone came to them with a brilliant thought. Why don't we pour the foam into molds shaped like cars? You're probably wondering, of all the shapes in the world, why cars? Well, legend has it that the same worker who made the suggestion thought the original squishy little shapes of the candy looked like a Bugatti sports car. And just like that, the mistake turned into a brand new product. At first, these candies weren't even branded. Kids in Sweden could scoop them up as 1 euro cars, sold loose in candy shops. They became a quiet hit, but it wasn't until the 1970s that the name Ahlgrens Bilar was born, literally translating to Ahlgrens cars. And with it came one of the most genius slogans in candy history, Sveriges mest köpta bil, which simply means Sweden's most purchased car. And they weren't lying. By the time the 2000s rolled around, Swedes were chewing through billions of candy cars every single year. In 2010 alone, production topped 4 billion pieces. That's a traffic jam bigger than anything Volvo, Saab, or even Mercedes-Benz could dream of. But like every car company, Ahlgrens also went through its mergers and moves. The original Gävle factory eventually shut down, and production shifted to Ljungsbro under the giant candy maker Cloetta. Still, the legend lived on. What started as a marshmallow mistake had turned into a cultural icon. But how do you actually make billions of candy cars, and what's hiding inside those pastel colors? Now, it's time to pull into the factory floor. So, what actually goes into making Sweden's most famous candy car? First stop, the kitchen. Workers start by heating up a bubbling mix of sugar, glucose syrup, gelatin, and starch. Think of it like the base coat of paint before a car even hits the assembly line. This sugary slurry is whipped into a foamy texture. That's what gives Ahlgrens Bilar that bouncy, not quite gummy, not quite marshmallow chew. Next, the foam mixture heads into something called a starch mogul system. Imagine giant trays filled with cornstarch that have been stamped with tiny car shapes. That's exactly how the mogul system was designed. The liquid candy is then poured into each little car impression and left to set. This is where the magic happens as the candy firms up, holding that perfect little sedan shape. After setting, the candy cars are gently shaken and brushed clean, removing every last bit of starch. Then comes the makeover. Each car gets a coating of carnauba wax. And if you're familiar with cars, that's the same natural wax used to actually shine them. In candy, it creates that glossy finish and keeps them from sticking together in the bag. You're probably wondering, if it's the same wax used to shine actual cars, is it safe to eat? Well, that's one question Ahlgrens are yet to answer. Now for the colors. The pink cars get their hue from carmine, E120. That's a dye made from crushed cochineal insects. The green cars? That's from copper chlorophyllan's, E141, derived from plants. and the white ones stay plain. Now you see, flavor-wise, the base recipe is the same across all three. The colors don't officially change the taste, but we'll get to that fiery debate later. Finally, the little cars are inspected, tumbled, and sealed into those instantly recognizable green bags. Millions of cars rolling out every single day. If you stacked them bumper to bumper, you'd circle the Earth in just a couple of months. Here's the wild part. Despite all this industrial precision, the process has barely changed in decades. Same chewy foam texture, same three colors, same waxy shine. But here's the question. If the colors don't really make any difference, why does everyone swear that the green cars taste fresher, or the pink ones sweeter? Well, buckle up, because next we're diving into the great flavor debate that's been raging for over 70 years. Alright, let's settle one of Sweden's greatest arguments. The taste debate. Do the pink, green, and white Ahlgrens Bilar actually taste different? Ask a Swede and you'll get 3 different answers. Some swear the pink ones are sweeter. Others are die-hard green car loyalists, claiming they're fresher or more minty. And then you've got the white car crew, insisting theirs has a smoother, subtler flavor. Here's the truth. According to Sweden's food agency, there is no official flavor difference. The recipe is exactly the same across all 3 colors. The only variation comes from the colorants. Pink from carmine, green from copper chlorophyllin, and white left plain. None of those are designed to add flavor. So why do people taste differences? It comes down to color psychology. Your brain expects flavors based on what you see. Pink screams fruity or berry. Green makes you anticipate fresh or herbal notes. And when you bite in, your brain fills in the blanks, even if the base flavor hasn't changed at all. Swedish journalists have even done blind tests where tasters guessed wrong again and again. Some said all 3 tasted identical once the colors were hidden. Others still claimed to detect differences, proving just how powerful expectation really is. And here's the kicker. Cloetta, the company behind Ahlgrens Bilar, has leaned into this taste mystery for decades. Their official stance has always been, "We'll let you decide." It's candy marketing genius. By refusing to confirm anything, they've kept the debate alive for over 70 years. So, which team are you on? Team Pink, Team Green, or Team White? Drop it in the comments. This battle is never ending. Since the 1970s, the brand has proudly declared itself Sveriges mest köpta bil, Sweden's most purchased car. And here's the funny part. It's true. More people buy bags of Ahlgrens Bilar each year than buy Volvos, Saabs, or any other actual car. It's one of those marketing lines that started as a clever joke, but stuck so hard it became part of Swedish culture. Then there are the spin-offs. Oh, and trust me, there are a lot. Cloetta has had fun stretching the concept. First, we got the limousines and RVs. For a while, you could buy candy limos or tiny husvagnar campers. They also released licorice tires. It's the same chewy foam base, but in tire form and black licorice flavor. Then we've got the Volvo edition. You probably didn't know this, but in 2008, Cloetta teamed up with Volvo and made a special run of candy cars shaped like the Volvo V70. And then there's the one that feels like a movie plot. In 2009, when Swedish astronaut Christer Fuglesang went to space, Cloetta made a special edition called Rymdfarkoster, Little Candy Spacecrafts. Only 100 bags were ever produced. Half were given away in promotions and the other half sold locally. That makes them one of the rarest candy releases in the world. Imagine explaining to NASA that your cargo includes marshmallow cars in zero gravity. Fast forward to today, and the brand is still finding ways to stay fresh. At Stockholm Fashion Week in 2025, Ahlgrens Bilar showed up on the runway in a collab sneaker made entirely of candy. Yes, it was ridiculous. Yes, it went viral. And yes, it reminded everyone that these pastel cars aren't just candy. They're part of Sweden's identity. And speaking of viral, let's talk TikTok. Ahlgrens Bilar has been popping up everywhere thanks to the wider Swedish candy craze online. TikTokers are filming first time trying Swedish candy videos, stuffing their mouths with Bilar, and debating whether the cars taste different. Some clips hit millions of views. US specialty shops have even started importing them because demand skyrocketed. And of course, IKEA has played its part, selling bags of Ahlgrens Bilar in their food markets worldwide, letting unsuspecting Americans discover that Sweden's most purchased car comes in a candy bag. So yeah, what started as a factory mistake in 1953 has turned into a symbol of Swedish pop culture. A candy you can find at IKEA, on TikTok, at Stockholm's Fashion Week, and even in space. But the real question is, why does it work? Why are people so obsessed with the pastel foam candy that hasn't really changed in 70 years? Well, the answer might have less to do with sugar and more to do with psychology. So why are people so obsessed with these little cars? I mean, on paper, Ahlgrens Bilar isn't complicated. Sugar, gelatin, starch, wax. That's it. No wild flavors. No rainbow packaging. Just 3 pastel colors that technically taste the same. And yet, Swedes buy billions every year, and TikTok can't get enough of them. The answer lies in psychology. First, the texture. Ahlgrens Bilar lives in that weird in-between zone. It's not a marshmallow. It's not a gummy bear. It's somewhere in the middle. The chew is soft at first, then gets springy, then melts away. That texture keeps your brain interested. Every bite is familiar, but not boring. Scientists call this a bliss point, that sweet spot where the sensory experience keeps you coming back without overwhelming you. Then there's the shape. Cars aren't just random molds. They tap into nostalgia, especially in a country like Sweden, where cars are cultural icons. For kids, it's fun and playful. It's like you're eating tiny Volvos. For adults, it's a hit of childhood memory. Psychologists call this associative memory, where taste plus shape plus memory fuse together. Basically, your brain links the candy to good times, and that feeling keeps you hooked. And don't underestimate color psychology. Even though the recipe is the same, your brain swears the pink cars taste fruity or sweeter, and the green ones fresher. That tiny visual trick turns eating Bilar into a playful argument, one that keeps friends and families debating for decades. It's the candy equivalent of a never-ending sports rivalry. Lastly, there's the collectible factor. Ahlgrens Bilar isn't just candy, it's an identity piece. When Cloetta drops limited edition limousines or space shuttles, people buy them just to say they had them. It's like Pokemon cards, but edible. You're not just eating sugar, you're collecting cars. So yeah, Ahlgrens Bilar works because it's not just about flavor. It's about memory, play, psychology, and a chew that hits the exact right spot in your brain. Alright, time to lift the hood and look at what's really inside these candy cars. Because, well, Ahlgrens Bilar looks innocent, just pastel foam and sugar, there's a darker side that most people don't talk about. Let's start with the most infamous ingredient, E120, better known as carmine. That bright pink color you always choose anytime you're buying a Bilar candy? It's made from crushed cochineal insects. Yep, actual bugs. Carmine has been used for centuries as a natural dye in food and cosmetics, and it's technically safe. But it's not vegetarian. It's not vegan. And it's definitely not halal or kosher if you're strict about sourcing. For some, it's just plain unsettling. Imagine finding out your favorite candy car was painted with Beetlejuice. But there's more. Carmine can actually trigger allergic reactions in sensitive individuals. Everything from mild rashes to, in rare cases, more severe responses. In fact, the issue became such a concern that in 2011, the US FDA passed a rule requiring that all food labels clearly spell out carmine or cochineal extract. So yes, next time you bite into a pink car, you can thank crushed insects for the shade. Then there's the green one. That's colored with copper chlorophyllands, E141, derived from plants. Harmless in small doses, but it still makes some consumers nervous. Anything with copper in the name tends to raise eyebrows. It's perfectly legal in the EU though, and has been used safely in candies and beverages for decades. Still, not exactly the all-natural vibe TikTok influencers like to sell. And what about that glossy shine? That comes from carnauba wax, E903. You've probably heard the internet joke, wait, is that the same stuff used in car polish? The answer is yes. The exact same plant-derived wax is used to buff candy, pills, and yes, actual cars. It's completely safe though, but the optics make for a great conspiracy meme. Then we get to the chewy texture. If you've always wondered how they've managed to keep that bouncy, chewy feel all these years, the secret behind it is the gelatin, which, of course, is made from animal collagen. Again, not vegetarian, vegan, halal, or kosher if it's pork-based. If you're one of those who's always been curious what animal the gelatin was sourced from, well, you may never know, because Ahlgrens Bilar didn't say. But the controversies don't stop at ingredients. In 2023, Sweden's top advertisement regulators slapped Cloetta, the company behind Ahlgrens Bilar, for misleading green claims. The packaging bragged about plant-packed sustainability and lower climate impact, but the watchdog said the claims were vague and exaggerated. In short, greenwashing. That little eco-friendly badge you see on the package? It's more marketing than meaningful. Then there's the factory closure scandal. For decades, Galve was home to the original production plant, the birthplace of Ahlgrens Bilar. But when Cloetta took over, production was shifted to Ljungsbro, jobs were lost, and locals argued that a piece of candy heritage had been stripped away. Imagine if Coca-Cola suddenly shut down its Atlanta HQ. It's not illegal, but it doesn't feel right. And of course, like any long-standing brand, Bilar has been dragged into conspiracy theories. Some claim the flavors really are different, but Cloetta is covering it up. Others spin the insect dye fact into a horror story. You're eating bugs. And every so often, a rumor about dangerous additives pops up online. But here's the truth. Ahlgrens Bilar has never been tied to banned substances like titanium dioxide, which recently got kicked out of the EU food scene. No recalls, no lawsuits, just a few shady marketing claims, some eyebrow-raising ingredients, and the kind of rumors that spread faster than a TikTok dance challenge. So here's the bottom line. Beneath the glossy finish and nostalgic branding, these candy cars are loaded with the weirdest stuff. From bug-based pink paint to wax that doubles as floor polish. And eco claims that don't always hold up, the Bugatti candy has it all. For most people, it's not enough to stop eating them. But for others, it's enough to pump the brakes. And yet, despite all this, the cars just keep rolling off the line. Which begs the question, how did this eccentric but flawed little candy become such a massive cultural phenomenon? That's where things get fun, because Ahlgrens Bilar isn't just candy, it's part of Sweden's identity. And its cultural story might be even stranger than its ingredients. So, there you have it, the strange, sticky story of Sweden's most purchased car. But after all this, are these candy cars still as innocent as they look? Let's wrap it all up. Ahlgrens Bilar started life as a marshmallow mistake in 1953, a failed experiment that should have ended in the trash, but instead rolled straight into history. Over the decades, it became more than just candy. It became a cultural symbol, a nostalgic memory, and yes, even a TikTok trend. But like every icon, it's got a few dents in the bumper. Those pastel colors were made with crushed insects. The shiny bits are courtesy of the same wax you'd find on your car's hood. The company itself was busted for greenwashing claims just last year. And the hometown factory closed, leaving locals to feel like part of Sweden's heritage had been stolen. And yet, despite the bug dye, the wax jokes, the controversies, Swedes still chew through billions of these candy cars every year. They show up in IKEA checkout lines, in TikTok taste tests, and even once in outer space. Because sometimes candy isn't about what's in it, it's about the story wrapped around it. So now you know. Ahlgrens Bilar is sweet, sour, and just a little shady. The question is, does that stop you from tearing open a bag? Or does it make the pink, green, and white cars even harder to resist? Tell us in the comments. Are you Team Pink, Team Green, or Team White? Or maybe you're just Team, I can't believe I've been eating bugs this whole time. One thing's for sure, this little car isn't slowing down anytime soon.